Welcome back to the Tracy Take. I am Tyler here with my brother Ryan. Today we are breaking down the Dallas Cowboys 7-round mock draft. We did a full 7-round mock draft, all 250 something picks. And so today we're going to be breaking down the Dallas Cowboys selections. But before we do that, be sure to like, subscribe, and also ring the bell to get notified whenever we create new Dallas Cowboys content. We've already done a 3-round mock draft series that came out before the Senior Bowl. And now we're doing a 7-round mock draft. We have other 3-round and 7-round mock draft series planned leading up to the 2024 NFL Draft. Also, every Monday, we are doing Mock Draft Monday. Ryan's mock draft just released this past week, so be sure to go see that. Mine's coming out next week on, what's today? February the 26th. Well, that's when it's coming out. I'll shut up now. Let's orient you a little bit to what is what's on the screen that you're seeing. I guess I won't shut up. The Cowboys, it's obviously going to be the first round pick. You'll be able to see what round it is at top. Name and bold, that will be obviously the player that we selected. We wanted to include some context around who was available and who was not available. So we included a couple of picks before and also a couple of picks after, and some other players we thought that would be interesting for the Cowboys to select. Over on the right, what team and pick that they selected there. So Cowboys, I will say, I know it obviously the wild card round didn't go the way that you guys wanted to, but this is probably the best Cowboys team that I could think of that I can remember in my lifetime. Like I'll be 29 here in March. Just overall, offensively, as probably well-rounded, I think, as they probably could be. Maybe could have improved, had a little bit better season from Tony Pollard. Defensively, they had some kind of major injuries, and they were still one of the better defenses in the league outside of just a couple of games against teams that were just better than them, so to say. And so I think they just ran into a buzzsaw, the Packers. So I'm trying to look at like what areas they could improve in overall. And I could see them going receiver here. I could see them going edge again, just with a freak athlete. I could see them going on the defensive side of the ball again. I think here we selected them. Who's their left tackle? Tyrone Smith.
Tyron Smith, yeah.
Tyron Smith. He's going to be a free agent. He is also getting up there in age.
33.
Tyler's 33. Tyler Smith kicked into left guard. He's one of the best left guards in the league. So we thought this would be kind of a good pick to like maybe take a flyer on a guy that you saw play live who is just a freak athlete. I mean, just huge. It would be a plug and play left tackle once when he develops and is ready for that spot.
Yeah, and so he is primarily a right tackle, but he definitely has the athleticism and the traits that you would want in a starting left tackle in the NFL. Also,
huge.
I will say the traits or the need for left tackle over right tackle is slowly diminishing. I mean, some edge rushers actually prefer to line up over the right tackle now more anyways, just they feel they have a better get off and whatnot, whatever. But like right tackle and left tackle, both are extremely important to an offensive line, even like more so than ever. So with that being said, I think Amarius Mims could make that transition. He is very raw. The reason I say that is he's very raw as a prospect already. He has a lot of great physical traits, but sometimes he still doesn't have the best of footwork. He is a little inaccurate and wild with his hands. And also in the run game, he doesn't have like you go watch Talise Fuaga, and like he is just running over people. He blocks pissed off in the running game, and Amarius Mims just kind of gets in people's way, I guess, in that. And like you really want him to have that like a little bit of anger, a little bit of edge to his game. And I think that just kind of needs to be coached up in him. But again, all the physical traits are there. He is primarily a right tackle. I think the switch to left tackle would be would be a project. But again, if there's one guy that can do it, that could end up turning into an all-pro left tackle, to me, I think it is Amarius Mims. So, I was going to say, and then like some of the potential options, if they don't want to go that route and they just want a plug and play left tackle, I think Troy Fautanu is the guy for that. Also, if they want to address that edge and maybe add another guy to the rotation, Penn State served them well the first time, maybe going back and getting a Chop Robinson to go opposite of Micah Parsons as DeMarcus Lawrence, and just get another guy kind of in that rotation. And then another option that I would really enjoy seeing, go get a Troy Franklin, go get a third wide receiver to go next to Brandon Cooks and CeeDee Lamb and really take the top off of some of these defenses. Because frankly, no pun intended, that would be great for this offense. You give CeeDee Lamb more space to operate underneath. You get more space for these tight ends to operate underneath as well. And you get a more of a field stretcher, because to me, I think that would be great. CeeDee Lamb literally had 1,000 more receiving yards than any other receiver on the Cowboys last year. And he had one of the best seasons ever by a wide receiver. I think that that season put him 7th all time on the wide receiving yards in a season's list. And nobody's really talking about it. But to me, it's because he was half of their wide receiver production by himself. So
yeah. I just remember. I think it was like I think it was a Lions game where we were talking about it. And we're looking at stats like, holy cow, he's at 1,500 receiving yards.
Yeah, it was
here. You're like, why is no one
go?
Yeah, well, no one's talking about this. And so, but yeah, like I think if you get another guy across from him, like I think the combination of like Michael Gallup and Brandon Cooks and like them rotating, I think is good. And they also have Noah Brown as well. I do like Jake Ferguson. Jake Ferguson just feels like that Dallas Cowboys tight end, and so he has that mantra already. So I think that could be an interesting option as well. That kind of goes to what I was talking about earlier, where it's so unique, I think, what the Cowboys could go and do in this first round. But also the two leading into the second round, they do end up getting a guy here. Very familiar with his name if you are living in Texas here. Again, Xavier Worthy. I think similar, I would say, to Troy Franklin, maybe a little bit of a smaller player. He might be a little bit more of the Z type player, I think. But I still think a good young option here that I think that can develop, take some tension off of CeeDee Lamb. And at worst, I will say he's a guy I think who could potentially replace both Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup, just because I think he's kind of that same type of player as both of them.
Yeah, to me, he reminds me a little bit of Zay Flowers, but in a 6'1" package from last year. And he's not quite the same like fast twitch as Zay Flowers, but he's pretty close. And he has elite speed that just pops off the tape. The thing that always cracks me up is when guys are fast on the field, they don't really look like they're trying. And to me, that's Xavier Worthy. He just has like this effortless, like fluid speed about him. And like he just makes some people look stupid on tape. And I love his stop-start ability. He's a great returner as well to kind of add on to his resume. He does struggle with drops sometimes. And he's not the biggest guy. He's 6'1", I think like 180. And so a little bit slender, but frankly, him and Troy Franklin are very similar. Troy Franklin is just a little bit bigger. So some other potential options here. Continue to address the offensive line with Cooper Beebe. If they want a more Ezekiel Elliott power back downhill runner style, I think Blake Corum would be a great option as well. And then if they wanted more size at the wide receiver position, I think Tez Walker, 6'2", 200, I think he would be another great option as well. Still with some great speed on him as well. So let's move on to our third round pick. And this is where we're going to address the defense side of the ball. Dwayne Carter, going to be more of a pass rushing defensive tackle from Duke. But again, I think he's a really solid prospect. He's going to play with a hand in the dirt. He's going to give them some scheme versatility. And I really like what he would bring to the table for this Dallas defense. And to me, if you're going to have him one-on-one or him on that defensive line, Micah Parsons is probably getting one-on-ones.
And you do have Maisie Smith also.
Maisie Smith, DeMarcus Lawrence. I just keep adding to that pass rush. Just invest in it consistently, and they'll keep having one of the top defenses in the league.
Yeah. Now, this was a pick I remember, I feel like a lot of the Dallas Cowboys picks were like this. It's just, you go look like what positions do they need, and like now they're kind of good there. It's just like, how can they just go make it better? And so I remember I think we talked a lot about this pick specifically because you go look at Peyton Wilson, Tyke Smith as well, DJ Dames. All guys I think that they could have taken here that could have come in and helped out a lot. If at minimum it's just depth pieces. So one of the benefits I would say of where the Cowboys are at, but then you go and get a guy like Dwayne Carter, as you said. So let's wrap this up here. Let's go to the day 3 picks real quick. Starting off with Ron Harper, linebacker. Talked about Leighton Vander Esch did get hurt last year and only played I think in a couple of games. So
and he's a free agent,
linebacker. I have that up right here actually. No, he's not a free agent. But it is a neck injury. He has been banged up a little bit over the past couple of years. I think just addressing the linebacker position, that maybe I would say that could be an area I think they could improve on a little bit more. And so we'll just have to kind of wait and see. Then Devontae Richardson and Amani Bailey as well here in picks 213, 231. Just getting 2 athletic guys I think to help provide some depth. Wanted to get a running back position as well. That's an area, Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle. are free agents. So I have to curious just to watch there. Only guy currently on the roster is Deuce Vaughn. So we'll have to kind of see if they end up letting Tony Pollard walk or Rico Dowdle also as well.
Yeah, and then last but not least, Dylan McMahon, an interior offensive lineman, just adding some depth at that position. You can never have too many bodies because I think you look at what the Giants were going through last year, and nobody wants that situation. And granted, like they had at one point like their 47th different offensive line combination by the end of the year. Like they just had an immense amount of offensive linemen get hurt, and keeping guys fresh in that room, I think, is going to be very important. So,
yeah,
all in all, for the Dallas Cowboys, I really like this draft for them. They fill probably their biggest need, and that's going to be at tackle. And to be fair, this roster does not have a lot of needs, and so they go fill that need. Then they get an explosive weapon for Dak Prescott, and then they continue to add to this defensive front and get better in that regard. Then they add, I think, some good depth pieces that could potentially play some roles for them going forward in 2024 and beyond. So I think that's all you could really ask for out of a draft, honestly. So I think it was a good one.
Yeah. It's Dallas Cowboys. I feel like they're right there. I know it's fun. I know Cowboys fans are like, you guys can be the butt of the joke sometimes. But it's, in all seriousness, you guys are right there. I don't know what else you guys. I'd be curious to see with Dan Quinn moving on how the defense is going to do next year, just schematically. And so that I'm very curious to watch. But I think they're right there. I think they just ran into a buzzsaw in Green Bay, and then they're just not on the same tier as I would say the 49ers are. But also, too, very few teams are.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and wrap up this video here. If you guys have not already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on what you thought of this Dallas Cowboys 7-round mock draft. Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you do differently? And other than that, we will see you guys next time.